This promotional podcast has been developed, organized and funded by Nutricia for UK healthcare professionals only. The content has been reviewed and approved by Nutricia prior to broadcast, with editorial support by OmniMed Communications. Any views, opinions or recommendations expressed in this podcast are solely those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent those of Nutricia. Welcome to the podcast titled Introduction to Cow's Milk Allergy, Diagnosis and Symptom Management. Hi everyone, my name is Nishti and I'm a specialist pediatric dietitian and I work in private practice. I'm joined today by Hannah Whittaker. Hannah is a specialist pediatric allergy dietitian with nearly 20 years of experience in nutrition, including 8 years as a registered dietitian. Alongside running her business, Bump to Baby Nutrition, she works in the NHS as a pediatric clinical lead. As an active member of the British Dietetic Association's pediatric subgroup, she contributes to policy, evidence review, and educating peers. Hannah is a sought-after speaker at conferences and media outlets where she dispels myths and educates on pediatric nutrition and allergies. In this podcast, we'll be talking about cow's milk allergy, how it's diagnosed, and how it is managed in primary care. Hi, Hannah, and welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you on.
Hi, lovely to be here today to chat through all about milk allergy.
Brilliant. Should we just dive in? Because I have so many questions for you today.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Great. Should we start out with what is cow's milk allergy?
So cow's milk allergy, as many people know, is an allergic response to the protein found in cow's milk that we see a lot in babies in our care. I see them both privately and also within my role in paediatrics.
And how is cow's milk allergy diagnosed? Maybe starting with our breastfed babies first?
Yeah, so generally, I think what we'll see in primary care is we'll see a mum come to the practice worried about the symptoms that her baby's showing. So she's breastfeeding and her baby's there's multiple different symptoms that babies can have with milk allergy. So she is suspecting that these symptoms are due to milk allergy. So in primary care, the best thing to do initially, I would suggest, is to look at these symptoms that the baby's having. We need to find out whether these symptoms are immediate or whether these symptoms are delayed for this baby. And sometimes that can be pretty tricky initially when your baby's only having breast milk. When it comes to these symptoms, as I say, they can range, but it's really good if mum comes with a diary of what symptoms have occurred. And if that's not the case, then we need to be asking how soon these symptoms occur, what specifically are these symptoms, are they ongoing, do they fluctuate? Now, if we do suspect that this baby has milk allergy and they are breastfed, the first advice would be to remove milk protein from mum's diet for a period of 2 to 4 weeks. There really is at this point, it's crucial that it's emphasised at this point that when mum removes milk from her diet, that she needs to make sure that she's getting enough calcium from other sources during this stage, and sometimes a multivitamin with calcium in can help. Now, after that period of 2 to 4 weeks, then mum will then look to reintroduce milk back into her diet to see if the symptoms return for the baby. But there really is a key point here for breastfeeding and also milk allergy as a whole, because if them symptoms are immediate for that baby, and we are looking at symptoms of swelling, any clear symptoms that the baby would be struggling with breathing, then we wouldn't be advising mum to reintroduce that milk back into her diet at that stage, and we would be referring on to specialist allergy care. But if them symptoms for that baby were reported to be delayed, then of course we can do that milk challenge successfully within the community.
Brilliant. And for the formula-fed baby, is it sort of similar?
It is similar, but it is different because at this stage we're not obviously telling mums to remove milk from their diet, but we're removing the milk protein from the baby's diet themselves. So again, very similar to if you're breastfeeding your baby, we need that full history of what are the symptoms while the baby's formula feeding, when do they occur, are they immediate because there is obviously two different types of milk allergy we see. We see immediate milk allergy, where the symptoms start anywhere from straight away when that baby's having that milk to around about 2 hours later. Or we see the symptoms of delayed milk allergy, which is called non-IgE. You might see it in the literature as non-IgE. And this is where the symptoms are anywhere from 2 to 72 hours after having milk protein. So we need that clear history from the parents to see when them symptoms are occurring. So let's say that we do suspect that that baby has a milk allergy and they're formula fed and they're on standard formula that you buy from the supermarket. We need to then trial that baby in pretty much all the cases that we see. There is some babies who have severe milk allergy where we wouldn't do this, but where we trial what's called an extensively hydrolyzed formula. And we advise parents to do this for 2 to 4 weeks again. But when mums are eliminating this milk from their baby's diet for 2 weeks, again, tracking them symptoms, are them symptoms alleviated when you're taking milk protein out of your baby's diet? And then after that time period, we're then reintroducing milk back into their diet via something called the milk challenge, which is where we reintroduce it very, very slowly to see if the symptoms return for the baby. I think we probably need to talk about, though, when we're not using extensively hydrolyzed formulas, so then first line formulas, and when we should be using the next formulas that we see a lot, don't we, in primary care and in our clinics?
Yes, definitely. I just wonder, Hannah, what if parents call 48 hours after they've changed the formula or gone dairy free? Because that's usually what happens. What would your advice be for those situations? Because I think that might be happening a lot to people listening.
Yeah, so a lot of the time what happens is we don't see that immediate change in symptoms. You know, when we switch that formula, a lot of the time it's my baby won't take the feed, my baby's very unsettled still. And I think we need to reassure parents that it can take a little bit of time for babies to settle, for that milk protein to get out of the system. If it is cow's milk protein allergy, it can take a little bit of time. So the taste and the palatability, as we call it, is one of the big things about these formulas. They can taste a little bit different. So if you find you're struggling to get your baby to switch, or your patient's getting this to struggle to switch from cow's milk contained formula to the extensively hydrolyzed, do it slowly, go half and half first, but really reassuring parents that they need to persist with these formulas to give it a chance, really, to see.
Thank you, Hannah. So you've mentioned that amino acid formulas and extensively hydrolyzed formulas are used in the treatment of cow's milk allergy in the formula-fed infant. Let's just talk a little bit more about amino acid formulas. Is there a pathway that could help our listeners to choose the best formula for the cow's milk allergy baby?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of guidance out there on when and where to prescribe amino acid formulas for infants. The IMAP guidance is a really helpful tool to show how and when you might prescribe them. I think it's really important to use your clinical judgment as well. You know, amino acids formulas are there to be prescribed for milk allergy, and if you feel that a child is not settled on the EHF formula, then definitely, yes, prescribe that amino acid formula. It would be very similar, however, we need to be trialing it. We need to be not just prescribing it and leaving the child on that. If we suspect a delayed milk allergy, we need to be making sure that's reviewed regularly to make sure that, again, is the right formula for that infant.
That's great. Thank you, Hannah. So there are many types of alternative milks out there. There is goat milk. There is lactose-free milk. There are plant-based milks. Where do we start? When can we use these milks?
So generally we don't recommend lactose-free formulas for infants because lactose intolerance is quite rare in infants. There can be times when they can be used, but if you're suspecting an infant has a milk protein allergy, then a lactose-free formula is not going to help with that because the lactose-free formula contains milk protein still, it's just absence of lactose. When it comes to goat's milk, the protein structure within this milk is similar to that of cow's milk. And therefore, if an infant has a cow's milk allergy, again, goat's milk is not going to relieve the symptoms for this infant. So we wouldn't be recommending a goat's milk formula as an alternative to the cow's milk contained formula. And then obviously you mentioned the plant-based milk. So the plant-based milks they do play a really important role in the diet of infants with milk protein allergy, because once we get to 6 months, we can use these milks within the foods of the children when they are following a milk-free diet, and this advice would be given by the dietitian. However, these milks aren't to be used as a main drink for infants under the age of 12 months. And then even over 12 months, we then need to be looking at the nutritional balance of the child's diet at this stage before we're then advising to have them as a main drink.
So plant-based milks are fine for a child above the age of 1, unless the diet isn't adequate. Is that right?
A large majority of children will be fine to take a plant-based milk from 12 months as their main drink. Obviously, this is going to go alongside breastfeeding if mum's continuing to breastfeed, but you might want to switch if you're on an extensively hydrolyzed formula or an amino acid formula at 12 months onto a plant-based milk if advised by your dietitian. There are obviously some key things we need to be making sure that are contained in that plant-based milk. And again, this will be advised by the dietitian, but making sure that that plant-based milk contains calcium. And it's generally, when we look at the packaging, 120 milligrams per 100 mils is what we're looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hannah. I think you've covered all the questions I had for you today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this podcast today. I really hope this discussion is useful to you and hope that you're able to take these insights on the diagnosis and management of cow's milk allergy and apply them in your clinical practice. Thanks for listening.